Hello everyone. Today we're going to start with segment 1 of our Business Builders series that we'll be releasing over the next few weeks. We're going to talk today about just the business model, network marketing, and how it works. So to begin, one thing that's really important, I think, to wrap your head around when we talk about success with anything, but especially with this business and network marketing, is that belief does not come from success. Success comes from belief. And that's the number one thing that's going to set aside the people that are going to make it and take it far with this business and the people that aren't. Because a lot of times people, think that if they find the success, then they'll believe in the system or in what they're doing. And really it's the people that right from the beginning decide that this is what they're going to do and that they do believe in this business model that are going to push through when they have struggles or when things don't go quite as planned, and they're going to push through to the other side and really achieve that success. So that's a really important quote to keep in mind, and something that we're hoping to achieve in this presentation is really help you to have the belief in the system and the belief in network marketing. And that can come only with a good understanding of what network marketing is and how it works and why it is so powerful. So we'll talk a little bit. I'm going to share my story, how we got started. We're going to talk about the 4-year career. That is a tool that you can use to help grow your business. And then just network marketing in general, specifically Young Living and the opportunity that it offers. And then just a few last things for you to take with you to maybe cast some vision and help plan out your first few steps. So we started on this journey with Young Living about 3 years ago. I had 3 children at the time. Our third was just a month old. And I was at a place where I was really ready to find some alternatives, natural alternatives to deal with our family's health and well-being. I had, without going into too much detail, we just had our share of, medical trips and different things where it just wasn't cutting it. We were finding that our kids were sicker than before and just dealing with some chronic things. They never seemed to be able to fight things off. Their immune systems were weakened, and the more I studied it, the more I realized that I was really doing them a disservice by running to the doctor and filling a prescription every time they were ill. So I was at a place where I was ready to have something at my fingertips to try as a first line of defense, not instead of, traditional medicine if the need arose, but really to have something to try when little things came up before it ever got too serious. And so I went in with a very open mind. I started using the oils right away. That was in April. And for 2 or 3 months, it was really just experimenting for me. I was not interested in the business. I was very busy with 3 young children, and I'm a teacher, so I was scheduled to go back to work, in a year, and I wanted to make the most of my maternity leave. And so for me, it was really just about the product. And Adam was the one presenting, Adam Green. There was 2 of us at that session, and I was not interested in the business. I told him, I'd contact him if I had any more questions, and just kind of got busy using the product. Right away, and I'm sure most of you can really relate to this if you've already experienced the oils, right away I knew that I had discovered something pretty awesome. Every time we had a cut or an ear infection or, just any kind of, injury that came up, a sunburn, we were so excited to pull out those oils. I'll rephrase that. I was so excited to pull out those oils while my husband watched with a smirk on his face and just see what they would do, see if it would help. And just time after time, we just kept collecting these testimonies of how these oils were working in our lives. And so that's really where it started. I'm the type of person too where when I get behind something and believe in something, I share it. It's just natural, and I think we all do that when it comes right down to it. The people we care about and the people in our lives, we want them to experience, what we've experienced. And when there's other young moms dealing with sleep issues or, chronic colds and flus running through the house, it's very natural and easy to share it. And so I started off very accidentally sharing about the oil. It was 4 months later that I hosted my first session. I kind of just showed up and talked about my story of what I used the oils for so far. And everybody that came that night signed up with a starter kit. They were excited and they were so thankful that it had come. And so for me, that was really when the light bulb went off. I thought, let's give this a shot. My husband was on board with letting me, see where it could go. And then by the time that I was scheduled to be going back to work full time, it was at a place where this had really become more than just a hobby. It was more than just a passive income. And so I really at that point buckled down because I wanted to replace my teaching income. And so by June of that year, so less than a year after I hosted my first session, we were at a point where I had fully replaced my teaching income, and teachers in Alberta get paid quite well. I was close to a six-figure income. So we were doing quite well, quite a good income just from sharing this passion with others. So that's kind of where it all started for us. We've now got 4 children, and the pictures on the screen there on the bottom left, that's a picture of us in Ecuador. We got that trip as a reward for hitting platinum, and we got to go, and that's Gary and Mary Young, and just got to meet others and just gain more inspiration to hear their stories. And that's really why we're doing what we're doing, because we see the power in the non-conventional way of working, freeing up hours so that you're not trading time for money, and you can really, take your time to invest in your children's lives and in friendships and, get paid while sharing something that's going to impact people's lives in a great way. So it's really a win-win situation. And my husband is now home full-time. A year after I quit my job, the following June, he was in a position where he could quit his as well. And we basically had replaced 2 full-time incomes and more and freed up a lot of hours between the 2 of us. Now we're both home with our 4 young children, and it's just such a cool experience to be able to, plan our schedule around our lives and really put them first. So time is the only limited commodity. Now this is a phrase that Adam had shared a few times at business sessions that I'd gone to right off the bat, and it really was a new way of thinking for me. When you think about it, you can always earn more money. You can work harder, pick up extra shifts, get a second job. You can always buy more stuff. You can acquire more of pretty much anything. But the one thing that once you spend it and you cannot get back is time. We all have the same amount of hours in a day, but some of us have to spend more of those hours working hard to make ends meet than others. And none of us know ultimately how much time we have on this earth. And I think it is so important that we're being purposeful in how we're spending that time. And, that comes down to time management too. And I think just being careful that the things we're doing are, building towards a future and really purposeful. So most people will sacrifice and postpone everything that they love until retirement. And that's really, quite sad when you think about it, that we work our whole lives just to retire one day and we hope to enjoy that time. But unfortunately, a lot of people retire on 40% of their income, which wasn't enough in the first place. So it really is a bit of a tricky thing, especially when your kids are young. What better place than to be making memories with them instead of, waiting till they're grown and you're retired to be able to really do that. So the cool thing about network marketing is it's brilliant, really, on both ends. When you think about advertising and the amount of dollars that most companies spend on ads and, just getting people to buy their product, it's mind-blowing. And when you do look at the research, you'll see that the thing people trust the most, hands down, is recommendations from people that they know. And so if you look at this graph here, 92%, this is the Nelson Advertising and Marketing Survey. You can just Google it and find it. But 92% of people trust recommendations from people that they know. If you compare that to brand sponsorships or ads in magazines, that's only 47%. And so billions of dollars are spent on these ads for the Super Bowl or, TV, magazine ads to get people to recognize the brand and want to buy their product. And they are effective. 47% is still quite effective. But 92% of people trust recommendations from people that they know. And so with network marketing, what they're doing, the company is doing, is taking that money that they would spend on, getting an ad in a, Super Bowl or an ad in a magazine. They're instead using that money to pay people for referring people to that product. And the cool thing too is that means that we're going to earn money when we share the product, but also that the company is going to be more profitable because they don't pay out the money until the referral makes a purchase, right? So it's directly based on how much product is sold, whereas when they're investing blindly to an ad, they're just hoping that they get their return on investment and that people do in fact buy the product, but they have to spend the money first without knowing, if it's going to pay off. So it's a really smart business model on both ends and becoming more and more popular and common. And, Donald Trump, there's multiple millionaires who are investing in network marketing companies because they see the validity in it. And we're seeing stores, brick and mortar stores, closing down, all the time. Future Shop here in Canada, Target didn't last long in Canada because really people are shifting their mindset to buying online. A lot of purchasing happens online, and it's, they're saving money because those companies aren't having to pay, to have that brick and mortar store, and it makes for a much more online and worldwide presence. So most people do network marketing every single day. I think there's been a few instances on Facebook where I've put out there, it's our anniversary and we're looking for somewhere to go, or does anyone have a good restaurant that they love to take their family to? And you'll see that you'll get, I had 35 or 40 people comment with an idea or a suggestion. And, it just shows that we're passionate people, and we love to share what what's worked for us or what we enjoy. And the funny thing is, it's not like those restaurants or those, movies that people are recommending to us. They're not getting a commission check for recommending it. It's just part of our nature to want to share with others. And so it's really not about selling a product. It's about sharing what's working for you, sharing what your family is doing, and then it naturally leads to a conversation and to people, being interested to try it out and see what it's all about. So it is a very easy product to share because it's something that is beneficial to your health and wellness. It's not specific to any age group or any gender. I mean, really everybody has a body and everybody has something wrong with it or health and fitness goals that they want to achieve. And so it really is, something that fits everyone. And I believe it really is a need that people have. It's not just a luxury item. It really does serve a real purpose and a need. So benefits of network marketing when we're comparing it to traditional business models and traditional jobs, you have unlimited earning potential. So you get paid based on your results. You get paid based on how hard you work or how much value you bring to the company. And so when I was a teacher, it didn't matter how hard I worked, how many hours I put in, how much I loved those kids. I was not going to get paid more than the next person. That's especially true when you work for a union like that, where it's very much based on a pay grid. But for most jobs, I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so high you can go until your boss quits or his boss quits and you can get a promotion, right? And it's still got a limit to how much that's going to be. With network marketing, you can choose the people you work with. So you can approach the people that would be awesome at this. And you can, send them some information. It doesn't matter where they live. They don't have to live near you. And you can say, hey, I've got this opportunity. You would be awesome at this. Do you want some more information? Or you could be more passive with it and just say, hey, I'm looking for somebody in your area. Can you refer them to me? If you think of anyone that would love this, I'd love to help them out. You can choose your hours. So for us, this one's big. We can work around our kids' schedules and really, plug in the things that matter and then work around that. You can be your own boss, so nobody's micromanaging what you're doing when you're doing it. Tax advantages are huge. We just finished filing our taxes for this year, and just to see the numbers is pretty powerful as soon as you have a home-based business. And a lot of people don't realize that doesn't need to be defined as you spending X number of hours on your business. You don't even have to have a certain amount of signups. It just means that you are in some capacity sharing this product with others. Maybe you're lending them your peppermint when you're out at the park. I mean, it doesn't have to look a specific way, but if you're sharing this product in any way, you really can claim a lot of stuff as a home-based business. So you can claim a portion of your heating bill, and you can claim a portion of your cell phone, and all these things that you need to use to operate your business. The product that you're purchasing, all those kinds of things, mileage to go and learn about the oils, or to go on a play date where you're going to share about the oils, that's all a tax write-off. And so it's cool because we've talked to a few people on our team who this year, they made some money at Young Living. Maybe they're just in the beginning stages, but they were able to write it off against their husband's income. And so they actually got a refund on his income. So it not only were their products paid for that year, but they also got more money back from their income tax. So for us this year, we still did have to pay some income tax, but to see that number drop as we had the write-offs was pretty cool. The next thing is it's residual and willable. Residual is a word that I did not understand before I got started with network marketing, so I'll explain it for those of you who may not know. Residual income basically means that the work you do now continues to pay you going forward. So you continue to get paid commission on orders that members are placing, going forward. So when I was a teacher, a good way to explain this, when I was a teacher, when I quit my job, the last day of work was the last day I was paid for. I don't continue to get a royalty or a check on work that I did in the past. I don't earn money on, having taught kids how to use a certain formula for their math questions. It was done when I quit my job. So residual means that you continue to get paid going forward. So it builds every month. And this is something that I so wish when people are starting, if they could just see that long-term effect and they could really in their heads picture that geometric progression growing and growing and growing, I think it would change their motivation, and people would be less likely to quit when it gets tough because they would see that bigger picture. So in the book For Your Career, you can look, it's got some awesome visuals on geometric progression, just showing how it builds each month on the work you've done. But you're going to continue to get paid going forward when somebody signs up and continues to order every month. You're getting a percentage of that commission every month that they continue to order. And so that's very powerful, and it really adds up as it grows. Willable, meaning that you can will that check every month. If something were to happen, you can will it to your children. So it really is creating a legacy that can continue to pay going forward. Travel opportunities. So as I mentioned before, we were sent to Ecuador as part of a rewards trip. We just got back from Croatia and Paris on the diamond trip. So we got to meet a lot of other diamonds with the company and just, share tips and just have some fun together. And Young Living is really passionate about connecting people and about relationships, but also about letting people experience the farm. So they really want distributors as they reach ranks to come and experience the farm where the, seeds are planted and the plants are harvested and distilled and all that, so that you can see for yourself the quality, the purity, and all the work that goes into each little bottle of oil. And so that's a very powerful experience to be part of and an awesome way to give back to their distributors. And you don't need to have an education or background, so you can jump in head first, get your feet wet, learn as you go, and get paid as you go, which is pretty awesome. So I've mentioned a few times before your career, there's a Young Living edition, so it's specific to Young Living in the sense that at the back we've got leaders and their stories are featured, so it's a really cool tool for you to share with people because you can say, hey, check out the story of this young family, look what they're doing. These guys have been only in it for 3 years, or look at Adam, he's only 25 years old here, and just really using those stories to make it a reality for people. There's also quite a few details just on how people got started, and then the book itself is amazing at breaking down how geometric progression works and why network marketing is such a powerful, valid business model. So when we compare a job to network marketing, a job, you're working, this varies, but you're working 40 hours a week for 50 weeks of the year for 40 years of your life. That's 80,000 hours. It's full-time with limited growth. You do have a company and no residual. The minute you quit, you don't get paid. Network marketing, if you're putting in 20 hours of focused work, into your business, that's great. 50 weeks a year times 5 years, that's 5,000 hours. Part-time, unlimited growth, no boss, and residual, meaning that as that number grows, the amount of work that you're going to need to do to draw that income is going to decrease. So really, you're saving yourself over 75,000 hours by choosing the network marketing model. And then just comparing it to university, I think there's nothing wrong with education. I'm a huge advocate of education. I mean, I went to university for 6 years. I'm a teacher by trade. I believe that learning is so important. What I don't agree with is the way that it's kind of a cookie cutter mold that we push kids through, just, prepping them for the work world to become, laborers, really, like to jump into the workforce, work their whole lives, and not really presenting any other option. That's just what we do. We ask kids, what are you going to, as soon as they graduate, what are you going to take in school? What are you going to go to university for? Without really exploring any other avenues. And so for me, I'm so glad that this opportunity was presented, and I was, able to be open-minded and take a shot at it, because it really is a better way. People spend a lot of money on their college education, and half the time they don't even know what they want to do. They just go to school because that's what they're supposed to do, to figure it out. And that's a very expensive piece of paper. And I think if people start to look at the other options, with network marketing, those 4 years that you were in school, if you just invested that into networking and building a business and growing it that way, if you compare the two, you're going to be much, much further ahead. So network marketing is a big industry. These numbers are probably far outdated now because this was 2011, but just to look at the sales done through network marketing, 141 billion worldwide in 2011. It's growing every single year. We see in our company over 100,000 new members joining each month to use the product or to share the product. And, it's very much something that we see young moms and stay-at-home moms really starting to take on the side, because it fits in so well, as a secondary income, and it really can be a plan B that becomes the plan A. So with a 4-year career plan, you get to earn immediate income to pay the bills now. So as soon as you start, it's very realistic to have your product paid for. So you share with a couple people, you place your order, you get a check that month, and your product ended up costing you nothing. But you can continue to stack up future income, because as people continue to order each month, you know that you're going to continue to draw an income off of that. So to look at the company's growth, Young Living has been around for 20 years. It's not a new company, which I think is the coolest part. It's not like this is just a fad that's really hot right now and it might just kind of crash and burn. It's been around for 20 years, and we're seeing unprecedented growth now. This is very, very unique, because most network marketing companies have, a 2 to 6 year, hot time, and then they kind of peter out and you don't hear about them again. So to have a company that's 20 years old growing at the rate that Young Living is growing is truly amazing and exciting. I think a lot of it has to do with people asking questions now about their health and really wanting to make those choices for their children, more than ever before. People are really, really starting to search out and seek out those natural alternatives. Canada's growth, so looking specifically at Young Living Canada, in 2012 to 2013, you can see they grew more. If you look at the 2 lines there, they grew more than they did in the previous 13 years combined. And the numbers, I don't have a graph yet for this last year, but the numbers for this year would be a straight line almost going up. So it's pretty exciting just to be part of that growth. If you look at the Green Team's growth specifically, just to give you some of the idea on the trends that we see, you can see that January, February, March, April, May just continue to climb. And so we're coming into, one of the hottest months of the year, really. Right now it's May, and it just tends to keep growing. So Young Living, I want to talk specifically about why Young Living as your network marketing business of choice. A lot of times I'll see people coming on board who've either already kind of dabbled with or with network marketing. Maybe they've been part of another company. Most people have at some point, either signed up or purchased another product and kind of considered the opportunity. But I think that was me. And with Young Living, the thing that was so different and so unique that I think is so powerful is that in the very beginning, for me, I was just signing up to be a product user. The cool thing was, though, I could become a product user and get wholesale pricing right off the bat. I didn't need to decide if I was going to build a business or not. I didn't need to invest a whole lot of money or make any kind of major commitment. I could really just start using the product, paying wholesale price. But if somebody asked me about it, I was able to sign them up. I didn't need to have a special, any special membership. I was able to sign up my mom, and my mom signed up my sister, and so on. And so those first few months when I wasn't even, quote unquote, doing the business, I was still earning a check, which was a nice surprise when it came in the mail. So that to me is a really cool way that the business works, is that people really are members and wholesale product users first. And that even if they want to do the business right away, there's no distinction there. You can really just jump on board super easily. The other thing, as I already mentioned, I believe it's a product people need. It's not just a want. And so it's something that is in my mind going to be more recession-proof when the economy isn't stable or different things like that. People still want to take care of their health. People still are going to need supplements and oils for cold and flu and, you name it. So it's very much, it's very diverse that way. And the other thing is that people just are looking now more than ever before for a plan B. And I mean, obviously, it's better to have a plan B before you're desperate for it. But with the way that in Alberta anyways, the oil field is going, it's a good and scary reminder that nothing is guaranteed and that these large incomes, may not be stable. And so for people to have another avenue to put in some hours and build a stable income that can come in on the side is a very powerful thing that most families could really use. A lot of times when I meet with people in the beginning that are interested in the business, I'll say to them, let's look at the income disclosure here that Young Living has. How much money do you need to make that would make a big difference in your family every month? And, starting small, I think, is good. In the long run, yeah, if they can retire their husband, great. But just in the beginning, helping make it a realistic goal, in the next 6 months, if you were making an extra $500 or $1,000 a month, what would that look like for your family? What would you do with that money? And helping people to see that that's a reality and it's not just a hobby, that we're talking real money, a real income that could come in. So here's the income disclosure. So 92% of all active members are ranked as distributor. So we've got a heavy base of product users, which I think is really exciting again, because we've got a product that people are going to continue to purchase even if they're not earning an income. And a lot of other companies are based on hype, where people are placing an order just because that's how they get their commission. They may not use the product, or if they were to stop earning money, they would stop ordering the product. And with Young Living, I mean, I can truly say that I'll never again be without the oils. I would never not order myself regardless of the income opportunity attached to it. And so we've got that shows that we've got a very strong product. 8% of all members are ranked a star or above. So if you're on this call tonight and you are a star, that means you've got 500 overall group volume in sales. You're in the top 8% of the company. So again, pretty exciting just to think about how few people actually even realize the opportunity and take advantage of it. It's pretty amazing. So here's the income disclosure. Just kind of shows the breakdown. This is an average base. I think this was done in 2013, so it might be a little bit outdated, but basically it shows, at each rank what you can expect to make and also what percentage of people in star and above rank as that. So of 8% that are star or above, 62% are star, 21% are senior star, 12.1 are executive, etc. And so you can see on the right-hand side there what the average monthly income is at those different ranks. And so when we're looking with people, for a lot of people, that first goal is really to get, to executive on their way to silver, to be making that extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month for their family. And then as you get up to gold, platinum, we retired when my husband retired when we were platinum and we were pushing for diamond. And so, it really starts to be money that can be a game changer for your family and for your income. So one activity I like to have people do once they say how much they want to make or what that would look like, and remembering that the amount you make is based on the number of people that you're helping, so it's really awesome because you are recommending something that people need and that's going to change their health and their wellness. But to write down 25 things I'm going to do after I become. And then you finish that sentence with, that goal you set. So if it's silver and that's the income that you need to really, feel that your financial situation will change, then you write silver. If it's gold, if you're wanting to think even further and say, when I hit diamond, you can do that too. So just write that in the line, and then you're going to just write down some practical things that you're going to do when you reach that goal. So when you hit, I think the last one I did when I hit diamond, I sat down and wrote it out, things like I'm going to hire a house cleaner. We're going to go on one family vacation every year to somewhere new and tropical. Maybe it's household stuff. Maybe you want to upgrade your flooring. Maybe you want to add a sunroom to the back of your house or a hot tub. And then, of course, thinking outward too. How can you change other people's lives when you've got extra money to spend? Are you going to buy a vehicle for a family in need every year, or donate at Christmas time and adopt a family? Maybe take a missions trip and go and help build an orphanage. Thinking big and just making some goals that are going to speak to you, something that you're passionate about. And that page is going to be so useful because when you feel discouraged and when things feel hard, it's a good reminder of what you're tangibly working towards. But I think also it helps to put the goals into words. That's something that is tangible, that will remind you of why you're doing what you're doing. So the first few steps, we'll just touch on this and then we'll wrap up this first segment. So the first few steps, you really want to get the tools. So when we talk about tools, we're talking about reference guides, material to be able to share the business for the 4-year career, having 10 of those on hand to be able to lend out to people. We recommend lending them out and asking the person to return it when they're done, because it gives you an excuse to follow up and find out what they thought of the book. Plus, they're more likely to read it when they know they've only got it for a short time. Whereas if you just give it to them, it might sit on their shelf and collect dust, accidentally, because they don't have that same maybe time frame to read it in. Being a product of the product is super important. So making sure that you are placing an order every month and committing to trying something new every month. We still order a new product every month to try, because it's really hard to share what's going to work for somebody if you haven't tried a variety of products yourself. And so a lot of times I hear from, builders will start usually with the oils. They'll branch out to the Ningxia Red because it's awesome and it's kind of a full family affair. Our children drink it and love it, and we feel different when we drink it. And then often there'll be the Thieves Cleaner and the Thieves products after that. But sometimes people really stop there and they don't get into the supplements, or they don't start trying some of the beauty care products. And I think, people, once they do try them, they can't believe that they went that long without trying them. The supplements are oil infused, and so you notice the absorption a lot. I think for me, when I took multigreens the first time, that first day I had a noticeable increase in energy. And when you look at the research, the oils added help them to cross into the cell much easier, and so the absorption is double what it was when the oils were not added. And so when you're looking at buying good quality vitamins that don't have essential oils in them, unfortunately a lot of it is not absorbed and it just comes out the other end. And so for people to understand that not only are our prices comparable and competitive, but that they're getting a lot more bang for their buck because they're going to absorb the product that much easier, and they're going to notice a difference in how they feel. And so really trying the product yourself is key. When people come over to your house, you're going to want the hand soap in your bathroom. You're going to want them to see in your shower the shampoo, and be able to offer them some sleek tea if they come over for tea, because I think that's really how people get to try stuff and they gain an interest, is when they get to sample it and they see you using it. And of course, if you're ordering every month, Essential Rewards is the only way to order. And I tell people that right off the bat. I've really changed my tune. I used to wait and tell them about Essential Rewards, a few months in. I'd call and follow up until I had people upset with me because they were placing orders of $200 or $300 and not earning any points on it. And I think the other disservice it does is people will get a starter kit and then they don't even realize all the other products there are. And they order once and don't ever order again. And for those of us who use the oils and love them, we can't even fathom not reordering every month, because if you're using them, you're going to run out. So I think really telling people right off the bat, this is a lifestyle, and we want to see you experience the full health, that comes with using these products and these supplements. And so we're going to start you off right away with a starter kit, and then let's pick what you want to have come next month. I'll call you in 3 weeks. We'll make sure that there's nothing else that you thought of that you want, or if something happens and you really want to cancel, you definitely can. There's no, you're not tied to it by any means. But I'll check back with you in three weeks. Let's see if you want to maybe start with the Thieves Kit. Maybe you want to get the cleaners, and that's something that you really want to get rid of the toxins in your home and the exposure to those toxins. Or let's start you on the Ningxia Red Essential Rewards Kit. That way you can get some of the singles, you can get your whole family trying it, and you'll really give it a shot to see what you think of it. And I also have a list of top oils that I'll recommend people to get in addition to the kit, because the kit covers really 95% of their day-to-day needs. But there's a few others that I think are super important to have on hand. that you want to have available on short notice. Something like RC, in case a horrible chest cough or infection comes up, they're going to want to have it right then to be able to use and experience the benefits. Another one is DiGi or Aroma Ease. They're both really good for nausea and, stomach flu, that kind of thing. So that's one I believe people need to have at their fingertips. And then also just a few other citrus oils so that they can, sample and drink them in their water to help improve energy and feel better. But that way they're not drinking, just the lemon or just the citrus fresh over and over. They can experiment with the lime or the orange or the tangerine and just, have a few different products available. The next thing is to make sure that you know your story. So it doesn't need to be rehearsed and fancy and, it's just you sharing what worked for you or how your life is different now that you're using the oils or now that you've started doing the business, how it's changed your life for the better. And be willing to share that. When you touch base with people and you're just catching up with people maybe you haven't talked to in a while, reaching out and saying, hey, what are you up to these days? How's life? They're naturally going to ask you what you're up to. And I think don't shy away from saying, hey, I've kind of started this business. I fell in love with these oils and I can't stop talking about them. And that's okay, just share what's working for you. And people, I think stop, don't say too much. Let people ask you more. Let them say, hey, what's that all about? Or, oh, cool. And that might be the end of it for now. But then at least they know you're doing it and they may come back when they have an issue come up. I've had so many times people, didn't come to home sessions I was having. I thought they had never seen my invites or wondered if they even, knew what I was up to. But then out of the blue, they go through a situation where maybe their kids have been on medication or something's not working, and they'll reach out and say, hey, I remember you doing those oils. Like, do you have anything that would help with migraines or headaches or whatever? And then I have an opportunity to share or send them a sample. So to make sure people know what you're doing without overwhelming them. Let them come back to you. And then that ties in with connecting with people, the next step, just being aware of connecting with people and making sure you're building relationships and talking to people that you are acquainted with and just making those relationships. And having a list where you can see how many people you know. Think outside of your area. Where else do you know people? Who else would benefit from these products? Who else could really use a secondary income? And then offer them that opportunity because it could change their lives as well, So making sure you've got that list written down, concrete on paper, where you can see that you've got a whole network of people that you can still reach out to. We did our list a little while ago, and it's still, I think our list now is about 175, and those are people that have not yet, jumped on board or that we haven't even really gotten to sit down and talk to about the oils. And so it's a great thing for changing your posture, because then you realize that there's no shortage of people that really need to hear about this product, but you can wait for the right time, So just having that list is important in keeping you thinking long-term and building your business. Filling your calendar, this is by far what's going to set apart the movers and the shakers from the people that are going to grow more slowly. When we look at the people who get out there and are traveling and doing sessions, they're the ones that grow quickly. Obviously, you've got to fit it into your life, but so often people, they can always make the time for something that really is a priority. And we just see so often people think they don't have the time or they make the excuse, but then they'll commit to something else that's important to them. And so just really gauging how much of a priority is this? How much time are you willing to invest in this? And understanding that if you really give it all you've got, it's really a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And so, planning your summer holidays, planning your vacations around your business a little bit, strategically going places where you have some people that you can connect with, and or stopping and doing a business presentation or a home session along the way when you're heading to your destination. I mean, starting to just think a little bit more strategically that way is going to make a big difference. And we have team members who, if they've got a friend 8 hours away, they plan it into their calendar to make it out that way, to go to a session for that friend who's interested, or find a way to do an online session or, Skype them in or something. It's the people that think creatively and are willing to, put in that work and get people plugged in that really take it far, because then those people start taking off and pretty soon they're doing their own sessions. They've got their own team and you're not out there, traveling to them all the time because they're well on their way. And that's just really the power of what we're doing. It's not limited by geography. So making sure to sit down at the beginning of the month or the end of the month and looking ahead to what's coming up. Because I know for me, I'm super guilty of being a last minute kind of person and not really, having a schedule and those kinds of things. And it's been huge for us since we've set aside the time to work on our business. We have somebody come and hang out with the kids, take them to the park 3 afternoons a week, and then they're happy because they're getting to play and have fun, and I can focus on my business time and doing what I need to do. And then, when I'm with them in the morning and in the evening, I don't feel like I'm trying to cram it in. So that's been really huge for us, just planning around, what time you can get to yourself to really focus. You're going to get a lot more done in a couple hours of focus time than trying to squeeze it in. And then also just looking at, how many sessions are you doing? How many evenings do you have free? And how much are you willing to commit to the business? And then go and, do tangible income producing activity rather than just, planning things out or spending your time on Facebook or that kind of thing. Like just really hosting a session is one of the most practical but powerful things you can do to grow your business. So making sure that you've got those things on the calendar, and then promoting events. So when there's a monthly event, if it's in your area, if something's coming up, get to it. But not only that, take 5 friends with you. And that is huge because that's where people really buy in and get to hear the excitement and, build that belief. And we notice a huge difference in the people that come to events versus the ones that don't. And I know for me in the beginning, I did not think I had time to commit 2 more nights a month to going out of the house and doing something else. I figured I would be better just hosting sessions and spending my time that way. The minute that I started to commit to being at those monthly meetings and telling my team, hey, I'm going, are you coming? Who are you bringing? That kind of thing. It changes things so much because then all of a sudden you have a chance to connect with your builders or your leaders. You get to build off of the energy of others, and you gain product knowledge, and you gain just experience and excitement and tips from other people rather than trying to do it all on your own and reinvent the wheel. So it's really important. If you're feeling like your business is stagnant, plug into those events. Find ways to plug into the calls. We've got a weekly call that happens every Monday. Anybody on the green team can plug into Adam's weekly call. And I mean, that's a great way for people at a distance to really hear what we're doing and find out about what's coming up and hear it from himself, hear it from somebody who's made it, who's successful, get the tips from them. Why not learn from somebody who's been through it all than trying to learn it on your own? So plugging into those events, plugging into the calls, and getting other people on board to do the same is going to be a huge game changer for your business. So thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you learned a few valuable things that you can put into practice right away. Again, just remember, success or belief does not come from success. Success comes from belief. Thanks so much. Have a great day.